Providing consistent and accurate protocols for managing goats is beneficial to producing a high-quality product. Standard operating procedures, or for short, SOPs, are a vital role in the success and profitability of the dairy goat herd. While the task of developing these protocols may seem challenging, they do not need to be complicated. Rather, they should be concise as possible, providing step-by-step instruction for the job needing to be done. The goal of this module is to help goat producers understand the importance of standard operating procedures and basics of developing procedures. Standard operating procedures help to define systems, procedures, and steps in the day-to-day operation of managing a dairy goat farm. This improves communication of the daily tasks that need to be completed, thus reducing training and overall improving consistency of the tasks that are required to manage the animals. Standard operating procedures also help workers gain confidence in their daily tasks, thus increasing job satisfaction and employment longevity. Even for farms that do not employ outside labor, they can be of benefit to those performing the tasks and allows for flexibility when you do want to take time off and need to hire someone to take care of the animals. Dairy farms have daily and weekly types of tasks. These listed would be the tasks to start with, as the success of the dairy depends on how well each of these work together. For a dairy goat operation, they can include, but are not limited to, milking, which includes sanitizing, setup and cleanup of milking equipment, and milking procedure. Feeding, which includes colostrum management, feeding the kids and dolings, feed mixing, feed harvest and storage, and bunk management. Health management can include reproduction, treatments, vaccines, dry-off, and freshening procedures, as well as record keeping. And then there are other management practices that could be included, such as manure handling, bedding, and routine equipment maintenance. There are some best practices that are recommended when we are developing these standard operating procedures. We want to make sure that they are visible and in the area that the task needs to be completed. For example, if you have a standard operating procedure for milking and you use towels, then that standard operating procedure should be available near the milking area. This aids in easy accessibility of instructions and increases the chance of the task being completed properly. You can provide videos or visuals, as many people are visual learners, or you may be working with multiple languages, and pictures and videos are an easy way to provide a consistent message. You'll want to involve those that are performing the task. They will be more likely to accept and commit to seeing it work if they've been included in the process. As they perform the task, they can provide experience and ideas to the protocol. We also want to make sure you have stated the why. Why is this protocol important? Understanding the importance of the procedure helps improve worker knowledge and fills their need to learn. For example, you might say, apply a post-dip to at least the lower 1/3 of the teat immediately after milking to help decrease the chance of transfer of pathogens to the udder. This statement tells the how and why post-dip should be used. Having someone outside your farm read the standard operating procedure helps to determine if the average person would understand the information. As the owner or person writing the protocol, you may have a lot of knowledge in this topic, and it might be harder for you to break down the information. It should be easily understood at the school age level. This is also a good time to review these with your herd veterinarian, as they are helping you with herd health and prescribing medications for treatment. You'll want to make sure these are up to date and very current. Then, perform the task according to how it's written. This is a good way to see if the steps make sense. It's also a good time to take photos and videos that you can incorporate into the protocol. You can verify that the steps are safe and productive for those actually performing the tasks. And once the standard operating procedure has been written, we want to train and retrain as often as necessary to make sure the steps are followed correctly. This will help in clarifying how the steps are interpreted, providing a very consistent work routine. It's important to measure the effectiveness of standard operating procedures. Examples of this include measuring milk volume, milk quality, or health treatments. This gives you an idea of what areas need retraining or maybe some revision in the protocols. An effective standard operating procedure example would state, with proper colostrum management and kid raising, kid mortality or death loss should be less than 10% in the pre-weaning phase. It's also a good idea to do regular reviews of records and observations or audits of how tasks are completed to check for drift from protocol and assure compliance. While it might seem that once the protocol is in place, you do not need to revisit it, often that is when we run into trouble. So when writing out a standard operating procedure, you can use this template as a guide to creating your procedures. First, you want to start with the name of the specific task or chore. Include the objective or the why this task is important. Next, you'll want to include materials that are needed to complete this task and where these materials might be located on the farm if they're different from the area where the protocol is posted. Then you'll want to write out all the steps needed to finish the task from start to finish. This kind of being your how. And then finally, including verbiage on record keeping or any documentation that might be needed to verify that this task was done. For example, a clipboard during kidding season could include the time when the kid was born, the time the colostrum was fed, the quality and the amount of colostrum administered, and any other treatments given. So here's an example of a standard operating procedure using the template for a milking procedure protocol. It states the task to be done, the reason the protocol is important, and the basic equipment that's needed to complete the task. Next, the example describes the milking procedure in detail, providing a step-by-step list, starting from the very beginning of the steps and finishing, including why each step is important to the protocol. The example ends with additional notes and how the milking procedure will be measured. In this example, milk production and milk quality will be reviewed daily to monitor health of the does and measure effectiveness of the milking protocol. Visuals including pictures and videos could also be used in this example to help or enhance the learning and understanding of the protocol. In this slide, there are some examples of pictures that could be used to show how to sanitize milking equipment, proper milking unit alignment, and the order of how does should be milked. The standard operating procedure development process can be time-consuming and demanding at first, but once they're set up, they can provide significant performance improvements. When we use and properly use them consistently, they help the farm run more efficiently, allowing everyone to focus on their abilities to do the best job. Standard operating procedures can mean the difference between success and failure, both productively and financially. Thanks for viewing this module. If you would like more information on developing standard operating procedures, again, please reach out to your herd veterinarian in developing these protocols. You can also contact your local livestock extension specialist, who may also be able to provide you additional resources.